There's no silver bullet in the wildfire crisis strategies and many components that come together to make a difference. Our firefighters that do some of this work in terms of prescribed fire, in terms of chipping, thinning, and reducing the fuel load on the landscape, they're also the firefighters that are then using those treatments to their tactical advantage while they're out fighting fire, and ultimately protecting property and protecting the natural resources, but also protecting firefighters so they can get in there and do that work safely. We're a learning organization, and so immediately following the initial advance of the over 50,000 acre bridge fire, we use fuels treatment monitoring. We have a team organized to gather data, analyze data. Some of that data is going to help inform future projects.
Fuels treatment effectiveness monitoring is something we do once a fire goes through an area. We take an assessment of what was done before the fire, and then we take an assessment of what happened during the fire, and then what happened after the fire went through the area that we treated. Within the Big Pines Highway project, we had some high-value areas. One of them was the NASA JPL facility. They have a lot of expensive telescopes that they do a lot of research with. When we came through just beneath their property, it was very dense with oaks and brush and shrubs. And so what we did is we thinned the oaks out, we cut the brush, and we chipped everything. Later on, we came through and we did prescribed fire. When the fire came through, the fire basically went around the entire burned area and avoided everything that we had done within the fuels treatment. The areas where we don't do fuels treatments, you can see a complete difference, whereas the areas where we do fuels treatment, the effect of the fire is very minimal. We want it to come through here, especially with all this timber, as a nice understory burn. And that's basically burning all the chips on the ground, low intensity, and going through. So as you can see, the trees still have green in them in this area, and the ground is pretty much black. But the great thing is, this area gets a lot of moisture, so when we come back in, let's say next spring, you won't even be able to tell there was a fire here.
The Wildfire Crisis Strategy for the agency and our partners really is a call to action. The treatment work that happens in many ways and with many hands. We can't do this alone as an agency, and ultimately we're working with different jurisdictional levels who have responsibilities and homeowners who have responsibilities, and it takes a community to come together.
As Fire Safe Council representatives, we take the responsibility very seriously at working with all of those agencies to affect a lot of the fuel reduction projects, a lot of the prescribed burning that has gone on in our area. Some of those programs are not well received by the public. They think, why are firefighters putting fire on the ground? And why are they starting fires in our forests and around our communities? Because they can't see the bigger picture, that unless you are actively working to reduce those fuel loads and those kind of things, you have devastating effects of fire.
The Forest Service has been very active in clearing the woods here. And admittedly, I was one of the people I was somewhat opposed to some of that. As a recreational user, you come up here and you get set focused on the beauty. You just kind of fall in love with the area. So it's a beautiful space. The Forest Service has a much larger plan, and it's about the whole forest as a whole. Now, looking back to that, it's wow, like not understanding the wisdom of the Forest Service and what they were trying to accomplish with that clearing. I'm very grateful that it was done, because if it was not done, again, I guarantee you, I'm pretty sure these places would have burned out.
The proof of the work done is right outside the door here. You can physically see the hand lines and the edges of the prescribed work that was done out there. And that's where the major burn stopped.
So after the wildfire goes through, it's not the end of our relationship with the community. It's not going to be the end of the work on these fuels treatments. These fuels treatments proved to work. So it would be folly of us to just abandon them now because they proved to work.
Just because we've come in and done fuels treatments once before doesn't mean that the fuels are not going to get back. The vegetation's still going to come back and get thick. It's our job and our duty to make sure these things are on at least a 5-year cycle. That way we're minimizing the fuels on the ground and we're maintaining the landscape throughout the years. That way if we do have a fire like the bridge fire, then it's actually going to make a difference in the fuels.
It's going to take us quite some time to get to the scale of maintenance that we really need. And it's not like building a piece of infrastructure and walking away for 20, 30 years. Getting to a place where we want a landscape to be, whether it's a fuel break or some kind of defensible space, and then getting into a maintenance cycle. And that's going to take commitment, not just agency commitment, it's community commitment, it's partner commitment, homeowner commitment. When we think about it in those terms, that helps speak to the commitment that we need to long-term investment.